My ex-wife, when she wanted to leave, she falsely accused me of a bunch of shit. Everything except for murder. So like, I was under investigation for human trafficking, narcotics, raping her. She accused me of raping her. It's like you're guilty until proven innocent in that position, right? And it got to the point where I was this close to ending it all, you know? And then I stumbled across this Andrew Tate clip, him talking about how depression is a choice. Yeah. Those words resonated, and like God came down, touched my shoulder, and then instantaneously from wanting to end it all, just snapped out of it.
James Devon on the mic, bringing you the hype. JD Show podcast, tune in tonight. Speaking truth and wisdom, never taking a dive. Entertaining the masses, keeping it tight. Listen up, don't miss a beat. JD Show, let's go. Flow with the flow, knowledge and laughter, all in one show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the JD Show. Of course, I'm your host, JD. I have an awesome guest for you guys today. The legendary former porn star and world-renowned sex coach, Stirling Cooper. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, brother.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, you're an absolute legend, and I want to get into everything about your life, but first, I brought you a gift.
Oh.
And there's a reason why I put it in a crumpled up Whole Foods bag. Okay. You'll be able to see why in a sec, because it's LA. It's a little more liberal out here, so we try to keep things discreet, but This is brand new from the Trump official website for you. Absolutely, yeah.
Right. I have, I don't own one of these yet.
Well, now you do.
That is freaking awesome.
That's the official one, not one of the Amazon knockoffs.
Really? This is the legit.
Yeah.
I like it. Awesome. Thank you very much, man.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Well, welcome back to America.
Welcome back to America. Indeed.
Times are changing now.
Hey, it's exciting. It's kind of exciting what's happening. The thing I like the most is all the Doge stuff that you see Elon Musk doing.
Oh yeah, big time.
And if you follow the Twitter account for Doge, like every day they're posting like the stuff that they're uncovering and like all the tremendous like government inefficiency and wasteful spending and quite frankly corruption.
Straight corruption. Yeah.
So it's interesting, and you see Democrats like freaking out about it. I'm like, It's
the ones that are crying the loudest. You got to watch them.
Man, it's kind of like a new. We're entering like a new era of politics. It seems. And in Australia, it's actually kind of funny. We've got this eccentric billionaire called Clive Palmer in Australia, and he had a party which was called the United. What was it? Something like United Patriots, something like that. And he's just created a brand new party for this upcoming election cycle literally called Trumpet of Patriots.
Okay.
And he's saying things like "Make Australia Great." He's just trying to carbon copy what Trump's doing, and it's like he had such a cultural impact that you've got people literally copying. We had a guy in Western Australia who legally changed his name on the ballot to Australian Trump. He legally changed his name to that, so he could run for election under that name, and people would just tick the box. It's nuts. It's kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. It's an interesting.
So there is a political shift in Australia too.
Yeah, people are sick of it. Yeah, people are very much sick of. And I've was back recently. They're very the backlash from like the COVID stuff is woke a lot of people up. Like Australians got a lot of crap from everyone internationally for rolling over for COVID, and I think rightfully so. But I think we just have it too easy. Like Australia is such an easygoing, relaxed country, and like we've got free healthcare, like we've got perfect weather all the time. Like we don't really have much to like stress about and like fight in our daily life. So it's taken quite a lot of just bullshit piling on top of one another for the average Australian to kind of wake up and be a little bit politically active. But we're starting to see it. Thank goodness we're starting to see it. So hopefully
it sounds like the population's starting to crack just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Hopefully, I think we still need a little bit more of a push for the average Australian to like actually wake up and be politically active, because our politics is like we have compulsory voting, so like you get fined if you don't vote.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I think the American system is way better because you have to as a politician encourage people to come out and vote for you. Like you have to earn their vote. You have to earn them going to the ballot box and taking your name. Whereas in Australia, what ends up happening is a lot of people just rock up because they will get fined if they don't, and tick whatever one of the two major parties. They don't actually think about it. They don't actually get involved, and they don't read the policies. They don't really understand who the politicians are. Australian politics is boring, super duper boring.
Right.
We need a few more characters in our political scene, like you guys have here, to sort of fire everyone up and get.
The U.S. is like the birthplace of all political attention. It seems like
it's U.S. politics is like a reality TV show, man.
Well, these days, yeah, it's absolutely insane. Like the whole Trump campaign was straight out of a movie. Like, damn.
Bro, like, what's that meme going around? Like, like if he's turned, like 1 inch to the left, him turning his head, and we're in a totally different timeline. We're in a very different world.
Yeah, we'd be in the dark ages.
Where all this USAID corruption that they've uncovered would have perpetuated on for years and years and years, and might never have ever been uncovered or ever been stopped at all. And it's like, I'm glad we're in this timeline. This is a fun timeline to be.
It feels like a breath of fresh air coming in. Like, you probably don't feel it living overseas, but like us living here in America, at least those anyway with a head on our shoulders and some common sense, we're all starting to feel it.
Everyone's positive about it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
People need optimism.
Even here in LA, you'd be surprised. So many more people, especially in the entertainment industry. It's like, that's my business, entertainment. And I talk to all types of influencers, music artists, people who work the back end of those industries.
Yep.
A lot of them voted Trump.
And they can't, but they can't say that publicly. Right. In that industry, they definitely can't.
Oh yeah, in that industry, like they still keep it hush hush. There's some that are more open about it, especially like with the African American population out here.
Really?
You'd be surprised. A lot of them are like, screw the Dems. Like they screwed us this whole time. Trump's going to change things. So
I like that. That's
very, very exciting.
Oh man, that's so cool to hear. That was kind of like, didn't to kick off. That's when I was working here in LA in the porn industry. It was like when Trump was in his first election term.
Oh, okay.
Like 2016, 2020.
So I didn't know that about you. So you're in LA when you start. That was the start of your porn career?
That was when that was kind of like, that was the end of my porn career, actually. I started it back in Australia. I shot in Australia, shot in the UK, shot in Europe, and then I made my way over here as Trump, probably 2 years into Trump's term. And it was a similar thing, like that industry, the adult entertainment industry, very, very woke left-wing cancel culture. You couldn't mention his name. It was like Voldemort, And there was a couple of directors and a couple of big performers that I knew who were like super pro-Trump. We could just sniff each other out. It was weird, and nobody would ever say anything on set. Like, heaven forbid, but you kind of knew who each other were. It was interesting.
Oh, yeah, very, especially back then.
Yeah. I think now he's a lot more popular than he was then.
Oh, big time.
Because he's just like, we've seen 4 years of him just being persecuted, basically, and then attempted assassinations, at least two of them that we know of, and it's like, it's hard. It's getting harder and harder for people to hate the guy.
It really is.
Even as polarizing as he is. Like, you've got to, there's a level, like, I think every man at least has to respect that. Like, they try to kill the guy. And it's, even people who might, like that, like, if anything, there's a bunch of things that, like, really went in his favor, but that's history defining.
Well, even with all the charges that he's facing, it woke up a lot of people. It's like, I myself have seen the bad side of government too. I've been in the spotlight. I have a very similar story to Andrew Tate, actually.
Right.
I've gone through that same experience.
Yeah.
Federal investigation, life being turned upside down. Like, they have the power to do it.
Yeah.
But most Americans don't realize it.
Right.
And I think it took Trump being put into that spotlight for so many Americans to just think, like, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense. Like, they're talking about the details of the case, and people with any sort of brain, they can see right through it. And that's when Americans started to realize, wow, our system's corrupt as fuck.
Yeah, it's a case of like, what? Show me the man, I'll show you the crime, right? If you go through most people's, like, if you go through enough phone records, enough like computer records, enough anything, like, you'll find like, you'll find a parking ticket here, you'll find like something misreported on a tax form there. Like, you're gonna find something.
Yeah.
But the average
There's actually this book, it's called like 50 Felonies a Day, something like that. Don't quote me on the title, but it's like number of felonies a day. And the book goes into how just the everyday American, there's so many laws written in the book that most Americans are violating several felony laws without even realizing, just going about their day-to-day life.
I'm going to have to read, that sounds like a really interesting read. I'm going to have to get that.
Yeah, I've only like listened to part of the audio. So I'm not much of a reading guy, but I love my audiobooks when I'm like driving on the road. And yeah, I was like, man, this is fun. It'll definitely wake you up a little bit.
What might scare me a bit, actually.
yeah, it can scare you too. But I do want to get more into the whole political landscape, the justice system with you, because you are close to the Tates, you have a little bit of insight on them. But before we do, I want to ask you a little bit more about like your career and how you ended up being the influencer you are now. So LA, porn star, towards the end of that career, then the transition. What made you jump ship into being on the social media space?
Well, there was a number of things, a lot of different factors at the same time. COVID lockdowns hit, and so no one could shoot. So I was already kind of planning a pivot in this direction, ironically, and that was sort of the kick out the door that I needed, to really to really take the leap. And I ended up going on a few big podcasts in the red pill space, the manosphere space at that time, when they were talking about OnlyFans, because it was a hot topic then. It kind of still is a hot topic now, actually. It was a really hot topic then. It just started, and everyone's mother and daughter jumped on the platform and started shooting, right? And so I had guys like Rollo Tomasi and Richard Cooper, who had me on their shows early on to talk about that. And that pushed me into that manosphere, red pill, men's self-help space, where I found a lot of people were really interested in the knowledge I had to offer, like this, basic. Initially, I was just talking about basic solutions to things like, erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, performance anxiety, these kind of things, and then we started to dive deeper into bedroom techniques, how to please women, and then that eventually transitioned again into more like another layer deep around like psychology and relationship dynamics and how that can be shifted through the bedroom dynamic, which is kind of where I try to focus all of my attention on now.
Right.
We still fix like the nuts and bolts issues, but it's like I've literally saved people's marriages because I've taught the guy, hey, here's the correct dynamic you want in the bedroom. Here's the correct way to dick her down, shall we say, where you're creating a dynamic where she looks up to you, where you're creating a dynamic where she respects you, she sees you as a masculine man again, and now that carries on outside the bedroom. She's no longer,
so that
disrespecting
concept
and nagging.
Can be created in the bedroom alone?
In my experience and the experience of a lot of the guys who follow my material, that is 100% the case.
Interesting. So what if you're the type of guy who maybe you don't have the best job, maybe you work at a corporate company, mid-level, you're not, a ballin', famous millionaire dude. Is it possible for those guys to be able to because you look at there's a lot of stories of musicians who are complete bums who end up with a bunch of groupies and stuff. And you could say it's because they got the notoriety with being a musician, whatever. But you look at people, there's always a guy in college who has a roster, of women who he can keep around, but he's objectively a bum. I see guys sort of making a cope online with a statement like that. I'm not saying you're coping, but I'm just saying the statement of you need to be, 6 foot, over 6 figures, jacked, tall, ripped, handsome, all this. You need to basically be a minor celebrity to attract a woman nowadays, and that's just objectively not the case. And I think you can create, if anything, the bedroom is the domain where the average guy can easily compete against a dude like that, because it's the problem comes when later on in a relationship when a woman starts to take on this attitude of the grass is always, it can be greener on the other side. The woman through social media primarily, they start to see a lifestyle of what they think they are owed, what they believe that they can expect from any man. It's
in Dubai, on a yacht, driving a fast car, doing all this ridiculous shit, right? Which is not the case for like 99% of people. That's not the life that they live. And even the guys like me who've dabbled in that, like it's not my everyday life, for goodness sake. Like it's just, it's the highlight reel, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's Instagram. It's very much, Instagram life is a doctored highlight reel.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
And so you've got all this, I look at it as like you've got offense and defense in your relationship. So like your defense is you've got all these outside influences trying to like attacking your dynamic with your woman. And it's, you know, it's things like Instagram, it's things like social media, it's things like mainstream media, like feminism. You've got all this social programming.
Even like family and friend influence,
sometimes,
especially on the female side.
Sometimes, very much so. Sometimes, very much, especially the friends, not necessarily the family, usually, but very much the friend group. If it's a jealousy situation, if it's he's too right wing and he's not woke and liberal enough, whatever, right? They will come in and attack, right? So you've got to play defense in terms of, okay, like, how do we minimize the influence that these external forces can have on our relationship? Because we're trying to go in a positive direction, and all these things are trying to break us up or push us in a negative direction, right? With a negative dynamic where they want her to be the breadwinner, they want her to be like the captain of the ship.
They want her to be the man nowadays.
Basically, yes. So that's the defense side of things, and then we've got the offensive side of things. In the offensive side of things, the bedroom is one of those dynamics where it's like we can reinforce this masculine and feminine polarity, this dominance and submission polarity, and create something really positive, something that's very natural. We create this kind of flow state where she submits to him, respects him, looks up to him, and let's be fair, lusts after him, right? And you can create that dynamic by knowing what you're doing in the bedroom. You can create a very, let's say, you can get her addicted to you in that regard. And it's not, not in a manipulative way, it's in a positive way. Like, she's having a fantastic time,
right?
But we're both getting what we want in this relationship. She gets to be with a guy who blows her mind in the bedroom, and she genuinely desires, and he gets to be with a woman who respects him. It's a massive win-win, right? And that's kind of the offensive component. Is your bedroom game is one of many things, but it's one thing that any guy can do. Like, not every guy is going to be able to build a social media following. Right. Not every guy is going to be able to earn, like, 6, 7, multiple figures, right? But every guy can learn a little bit, a few tips and tactics in the bedroom that they can implement in their relationship. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's, from most women that I've talked to about this subject, they will tell me very few guys are actually able to satisfy them.
Right.
So what you're saying makes perfect sense. Like, you need to be able to dominate the bedroom. You got to be able to show these women, like, tickling their mind in the bedroom. I always say 50% of a woman's orgasm is going to be stimulated mentally.
Completely.
Not just physically.
Completely. Yes. And it's with this kind of woke liberal culture that we have perpetuating through the Western world, it tries to create this illusion around women being like sugar and spice and all things nice, and they're these delicate, fragile little creatures who have no, like, let's say, dark, perverted side to them, which is just not the case. And if you look at, for example, the kinds of fantasy novels and romance novels that sell really well, what are they? They're things that the cliche is like 50 Shades of Grey, right? So, the guy's a billionaire, but he's also like locking her up in a dungeon. It's some pretty extreme stuff, right? We've got some of the most reported like fantasies and fantasy novel characters are like things like werewolves, vampires, pirates.
Interesting.
It's really interesting stuff. But what does that tell you? It tells you that women are craving this very dangerous archetype, right? And another interesting segue to that is the phenomenon of hybristophilia. Hybristophilia is basically when someone is attracted to a killer. This is actually a phenomenon that's you only see in women. You don't see men with hybristophilia. An example is, like, you look at that guy who shot the CEO or whatever. you see the video from the courtroom, and it's just throngs of women with signs like lining up to be a groupie. Basically, you look at every other serial killer; they all receive fan mail and love letters, endless amounts of love letters. It's a bit of an interesting red flag you can look for, I guess, if your woman is heavily into like watching serial killer documentaries.
Oh,
you know, like this.
A lot of women are into that.
Well, that's what I'm talking. This is hybristophilia, and what does that mean? It doesn't mean you should go out and be a serial killer. It doesn't mean you should go out and be violent.
Yeah. But
what it means is that there's a and okay, sure, not every woman is a hybristophiliac. Not every woman is like that, but they've all got something in them that is an element of that, and that is an attraction for a man who is capable. Emphasis on the word capable of violence. Mm-hmm. Because what does that mean? If he's capable of violence, he can protect her. He can defend her. Mm-hmm. Right? It's simple. Like, dude comes along, try and take her unwillingly, he can sort it out, you know. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. Like a lot of things in life ultimately come down to violence.
Right.
You know, I mean, look at law. You look at the law. Like every law is backed up by a gun.
Exactly.
Ostensibly, if you don't obey the law, there's going to be a gun involved at some point. There's going to be at the end of this chain of events, there's going to be violence somewhere, right? And so, and sex is no different. I mean, like you can look at the act of sex as a violent act. I mean, you literally have a spear attached to your body,
that's a good way to put it.
which you're penetrating her body with, right? Mm-hmm. So in a kind of metaphysical sense, it is violence, right? Mm-hmm. But it's obviously consensual. It's obviously an act that both the man and the woman enjoy, right? But there's that element of danger that is very, very attractive to women, and this is also another bit of a segue. But this is also why certain archetypes and stereotypes have always been highly arousing and attractive to women.
Right.
You know, the bad boy archetype, the bad boy stereotype, right? Is because there's an element of danger and an element of mystery and an element of uncertainty attached to his persona that women just electrifies them. You know, the accountant doesn't really have that same level of, you know, loin stimulus that like a rock star
That's
does.
why, like, the good husband, accountant, nice guy, he gets cheated on, but the women who are dating the psychopathic narcissist dude who, like, sometimes, like, will even hit them, which I never condone, by the way, they will still stay with that guy and stay loyal to him.
Yeah, there's an old saying that you can be anything or do anything to a woman except bore her. Right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
And you do see, unfortunately, lots of instances of women in abusive relationships who they complain about it left, right, and center, but the only thing they don't do is leave. Mm-hmm. And you can make the argument, okay, it's because there's layers of like coercion and there's pressure and stuff. Okay, you can make that argument, but there's definitely situations where a woman could very, very easily walk away from that scenario, but they don't. Mm-hmm. And so, what does that tell you? Well, that tells you there's elements of there's something in her psychology which is preventing her from wanting to leave that man. Right. Whether, even though it would be objectively in her best interest to walk away.
Right.
Right. But and back to the point about, you know, the accountant or whatever is the guy that ends up getting cheated on, and that's if he lets it get to that point. That's if he allows the relationship dynamic to get to that point. I've started diving into Reddit threads, Reddit forums, and looking at all of the stories that people post on there from like the Dead Bedrooms subreddit, and I'm like, this isn't a world that I like live in. This is not just normie world, but it's also like anti-self-help normie world, I guess. If there's a way I would describe it. And so I look at some of these stories and I'm like, how? Like, oh, you know, we've been married for like 20 years and like we haven't had sex like for the last year, or we've had sex like once in the last year, or it's my birthday, I wonder if she'll give me a blowjob. Like, there's scenarios like that. Right? And I'm like, how do you let it get to that point? How, at what point, like, it's like the frog in boiling water analogy. Like, when was it too far? Like, it's, you know, maybe it was, now it's every week, now it's every other week, now it's once a month. It's like, at what point did you not think that it's just going too far? Then you're no longer actually in a relationship with a woman who respects you. Clearly not. Right. If she views sex as a chore, then it's basically dead already. Like, you're just prolonging the inevitable because women have sex drives.
Oh, they definitely do.
she
Some
wants to get
don't,
it,
but most
she,
do.
She wants to get it from somewhere, and that desire is still there. That primal urge is still there. And if she's not getting it from you, well, I'm sorry, fella, but there's probably someone on the side that she is getting it from. So, yeah, if a guy lets it get that far, he's got to look in the mirror. I mean, yeah, you're not absolving women of responsibility, but at a certain point, you got to look yourself in the mirror and realize you didn't put your foot down. You didn't have any boundaries, and you didn't have any self-respect. And that's what she actually pinged off of. She pinged off of his lack of self-respect. And thought, well, if he had to respect himself, I ain't going to respect him. Why would she?
Makes sense. Yeah. Now, I've been in relationships where, like, my first serious relationship, she was a virgin, lost her virginity to me, and we had an okay sex life. Very boring. She did not want to do anything besides missionary sex, and that's the way she always was. That relationship was short-lived because I was super unhappy, and I think she became miserable herself.
Right.
Second serious relationship I was in, it was good in the beginning, and then over time, after having children, this was the woman that I married, it started to dwindle down where, like you said, sex became a chore. And that was the relationship that changed a lot of things in my life, where I really had to look in the mirror, and I did a drastic life change from the other situations that came out of that. But then my last serious relationship that I was in, it was like honeymoon phase during the entire time we were together, all the way to the very end, captivating her in the bedroom. And I've actually used some of the things I've seen on your reels, pop up on my feed. You're going on some crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try that one out tonight. Shit works. So, guys, definitely hit him up if you're struggling out there.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
But yeah, it's interesting to see how you function as a man, in your relationship, really makes her look at you a certain way.
Yeah. completely. And this is, I sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, but this is why I use the bedroom dynamic, because I think it's the one place where a man is still allowed to be a man. It's like, let's just take an extreme example. If you're in an argument with your woman and you just tell her, shut the fuck up. Right? That's, if you tell guys to say that, it's kind of frowned upon. Where the power that men used to have in society to have leadership in their relationship, to have authority in their relationship, has been stripped away from men. And there's various things that have done that: feminism, women's right to vote, women's right to work, all these things. I'm not making an argument whether or not that was good or bad. I'm just saying it's an objective fact. Those things have taken authority away from the man in the relationship, right? And so then you look at, well, how can the man kind of assert himself? And it's really what's he got left? Okay, the bedroom's kind of the place, and it's the place where it's most welcome. It's the place where you're not really going to get resistance, because the woman really fundamentally enjoys it on a deep biological level. That assertion, that picking her up and throwing her down onto the bed, carrying her off, into the bedroom, or bending her over in the middle of the kitchen spontaneously when she's not, it's not like a scheduled date night crap.
Yeah, that's very boring.
Which I see so many people, and they're predominantly women, who give this advice of you should schedule and plan your date night, and I'm like, guys, that is not going to work.
Right.
Maybe in the short term, if it's there's been no time, you haven't had any time. Maybe if it's a logistical problem where the two of you haven't figured out how we can carve time out to be intimate because of work commitments, family commitments, kids, whatever. Okay, to a degree it makes sense then. But even then, both of you know it's coming, so there's no passion, there's no spontaneity.
Right.
Arousal is caused by anticipation. So to a degree, if you can anticipate something, it's fantastic, but there's a large degree of arousal that comes from spontaneity. There's a large degree of arousal that just comes from that passion arising, coming out of nowhere. And you've taken her spontaneously, like I said, in the kitchen or whatever, in the car when you're on a road trip, whatever.
Yeah.
That spontaneity, that plants seeds in her mind that, this could happen at any time.
Right.
Then that's when that anticipation starts to build and build and build. If you're the kind of guy who just takes her on a whim, you know, when is he going to do it next? This is a thought that goes through her mind. She's going to love that. It's going to create that honeymoon
It's like
experience.
a sense of mystery.
Again, exactly. It creates that mystery, creates that intrigue, that uniqueness, that passion. It's a tiny little thing, but I recommend it to people instead of doing the date night strategy, and it puts all the responsibility on the guy as well, which I think is also important, because it's like women don't want to be in this headspace where you're putting responsibility and accountability on them. They don't want it. They're allergic to it.
Very, yeah.
So take back the authority in the relationship by taking charge, by leading, by taking responsibility like that.
And you're teaching men how, like, if a man's in a position where he doesn't have that authority, that responsibility over his woman, you're teaching it, and you're starting it with in the bedroom, so dominating sexually, but then how does that turn around where you're able to teach them how to dominate in other aspects?
Well, I think once you learn to assert yourself and have that authority in the bedroom, cool. It's no longer a weird leap for you to start not demanding, but start directing, to start instructing your woman again outside the bedroom, you know, and again, she's going to by default look up to you a bit more, respect you a little bit more, and it's just, you know, it's inches and inches and inches. It's a little bit. This is not going to immediately fix itself overnight, like with one bout of lovemaking, right?
Right.
But over time, these things are going to start to compound. And from, you know, students of mine, they tell me things like she doesn't nag so much anymore, surprisingly, because she's happy.
That's definitely a winner for most men. Yeah.
There's so much of like a woman's nagging that I swear to God just comes down to how much she's orgasmed. Like, how sexually frustrated is she? Like, there is a giant correlation between a woman's nagging and a woman's sexual frustration. If she's orgasming all the time, she ain't going to be nagging you as much. And then it's a case of the guy, like, women fall in love with you by doing things for you. So you have to be proactive in instructing her throughout the day, throughout your relationship, whatever it is. Like, giving her little things that she can do for you to help you. You're helping her fall in love with you again. You know, like, starting really simply would be just instructing her on what to wear. If you're gonna go take her out for dinner, put on that dress there. Wear that. Dress like this. Like, one, you're taking away a lot of the thinking that she has to do, which they love when you take that away from them. And two, you're telling her how you want her to dress for you. Right? That's a really, really simple, basic one. And then when it starts, okay, maybe she wasn't like the kind of woman who would like cook and clean for you all the time. But like, start to push that back into the relationship again. Start to ask for things. Start to direct her, and what you could say, like, tasking her with things with things to do. You'll find that the more she does for you, the more she will fall in love with you. Because there's a natural hierarchy to male-female dynamics. A man goes out, hunts, kills, brings back the kill to the house. Cool. She divides up the goods, feeds the kids, feeds herself, feeds you.
Yeah, it goes back to our roots.
Yeah, but that comes now. It's not necessarily he's going out and, you know, killing a deer, but he's bringing home the bacon in another way. Okay, well, there needs to be some reciprocal effort from the woman, and yeah. In today, unfortunately, because we're in a shit economic situation, usually it's a two-income household, and the woman has to go out and earn her keep as well. But you have to, like, ideally, she doesn't. But if you can't,
I mean, that certainly adds complexity for most modern relationships.
Completely, because she goes to work and she's subservient to another man in the form of her boss. There's a totally different masculine-feminine dynamic happening for 8 hours of the day when you're not around. Like, that is not the ideal scenario.
And they're also being taken out of their feminine energy, being put into a work environment.
Completely. That's why you put authority and responsibility onto her. She has to be masculine in her masculine energy to deal with that in the first place. This is why when she comes home, her coming home and you making all the decisions, decide again, like, it ties back to one really simple example, telling her what to wear to go out for date night. You deciding which restaurant to go to. but you can tell her to book it for it. You know what I mean? You make the decision, you do the decision making and have the authority. You can still task her with something simple like, call this restaurant and book us in for 7:30, right? That's a healthy dance there, right? Where you're alleviating her from all the thinking. They don't necessarily want to have to think and make a decision.
See, all the women that I've dated, a lot of them have given me that compliment. I like hanging out with you because I don't need to think. So I'm just taking care of everything. Like, all right, hey, we're going to this place. You're going to need to wear this outfit. Add a touch of red to it. And those little micro details they really like.
Yep.
And same thing, like going to New York. Have you ever been? Super crazy place, like navigating the subways and stuff like that. Every time I've taken a girl to New York, they're just like, like I'm calculating like the subway routes and everything. And they have such a great time because no burden of stress on them whatsoever.
And that's a perfect example of it. It's like, you take care of the navigating, you take care of the getting us there. I'll go as far as like ordering her food for her.
Yeah, that's actually a big one too.
Half the time. If it's a restaurant that I know and I'm familiar with the menu, like I know this and this thing are really good, like I'll order too much food. But it's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We can try a little bit of each, and cool. There's a little bit of waste, whoop-de-doo. But like she gets to like sit back, relax, not think, not worry about, does he want me to eat a salad, to like try and look, feminine or whatever, or do I have to watch my calories? Do I have to do this or whatever? You just like. No, just relax. I'll order. Let's go. And it's not hard, and it's just little things like that. But once you start, these are good sort of starting points for a guy who's not used to doing this. Once you start incorporating these little things, you'll start to find other ways to lead, right? Because men have been taught, like, not to. Ostensibly, they've been taught not to lead women in that relation. They've been taught to like. Ask her opinion. It's a relationship. It's 50-50.
It's always either very feminine men giving that advice or women themselves.
Yeah.
And I always say women don't actually know what they want.
Of course
they say one thing out loud, but then their actions reflect the opposite usually.
Well, they can't even pick a dinner to go to, a restaurant to go to. So it's like, obviously they don't really enjoy it. They don't enjoy the burden of decision making. They don't enjoy, and even more, they don't enjoy the burden of being responsible for making a bad decision. Because that's what it comes down to. It's not the fact that she doesn't. It's not that she doesn't know which restaurants she likes. Is that it's more than that. Is that she's worried that if she picks the wrong one, you're going to hold her accountable for making a bad decision. Which is interesting psychology. But it's like, if you just don't care as a guy, like I don't care if she doesn't like, if it's not a 10 out of 10 for her or me. But this is why I usually always go to restaurants I already know are good anyway. But that burden of being held responsible for making a bad choice, that is the ultimate fear that they have. And so if we can find ways to take that fear away from our woman by making the choices, and look, if it's a bad choice, cool, whatever.
Yes, I've actually been in that situation myself with a girl that I was dating where she like made the choice like 2 times maybe during out the whole relationship, and like both times like she could tell I wasn't impressed, like a restaurant or a movie selection, and I'm like, food's okay, or like I'm bored at this movie, right? And she's like, oh fuck, like, and she said it out loud. She's like, yeah, I'm never making a decision ever again.
She's disappointed, right? Well, because women want to be useful. This is another thing. This ties back into like women falling in love with you by doing things for you. Like, I've got a couple of friends who've got like young daughters now, and they keep telling me stories about like, they just like, dad'll be like working, or mum will be, working around the house or whatever, and the daughter just comes, like, she just wants you to give her things to do. She wants to be helpful. She wants, okay, go feed the chickens, or go do this, go pick some flowers, go do like, just has to give her something to do so she can start feeling like useful and have that's like the building blocks of her self-esteem, I guess. And it's funny when you like, that's a child doing that to her father. You extrapolate that, and I think that is true for basically all women, because one of the objections, like the pushbacks you'll get when you talk to women about like, like not having a career and being a stay-at-home mom, is that they're worried that like they don't feel useful. it's ultimately it comes down to the fact that they're worried that they won't be useful. And you got to convince them, it's a bit silly that you have to do it, but you have to convince her that like that's the only job that I can't do is like keep a child alive. This is what you are designed to do. You are infinitely better than me at this thing. So let's put the person who's best for that job in charge of it.
Yeah.
But that is like you couldn't find a more useful job on Earth than like keeping a baby alive.
Oh, do you have or?
Not at the moment.
Yeah, I got 2 of them, and holy crap, when they're babies, like. I was losing my mind. Like, changing a diaper was terrible for me.
Tell me if this is the experience you've had, because I had this conversation with my buddy, and he said, because he's had 2 kids now, and he said with the first one, he was trying so hard to like help and stop the baby from crying and be there for the child and blah, blah, blah. And he noticed that the baby doesn't even recognize you as a human being until like 6 months in. Like it doesn't even. It would after it was his observation was after 6 months in, the baby was starting to like make eye contact with him and recognize him.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it's just all about the mother. It's all about.
Oh, big time.
And so so with his second daughter, he just didn't even like really bother for the first 6 months. Like the first baby, he got like super stressed out that he felt like he couldn't like connect and help and soothe the child, right? And then he realized like, oh, I don't exist. I'm still in the war. I've attended last year in Europe. I attended a couple of really big events that were fantastic. Like great. There's a great crew of guys out in Europe. And it's been like that organization. I've met some of the best friends I've ever had in my entire life through that organization. It's not even funny. Like guys I will be friends with to the day I die. And everyone who joined that org at the same time as me, we all joined for like similar reasons. We were like looking for other guys that were like resisting the COVID narrative, that were like on their way up, were making money, that were kind of successful, and they were like, where are the other guys like that are like me, that are out there like hustling and don't believe all the woke bullshit. And yeah, Andrew and Tristan were like this sort of beacon on the internet that attracted a lot of guys like that, and it's been a really interesting experience.
Yeah, no, he's definitely been a prodigy for the youth.
Yeah. He is like now like we'll talk about like Andrew Tate will be studied in like marketing textbooks. Like he is like a once in a lifetime cultural phenomenon. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, he actually saved my life, believe it or not.
That's amazing.
So when I was like active duty in the Marine Corps, I was a Force Recon Marine, top secret security clearance and stuff. My ex-wife, when she wanted to leave, she falsely accused me of a bunch of shit.
Damn.
And she pretty much listed like the top 10 felonies, everything except for murder. So like I was under investigation for human trafficking, narcotics, raping her. She accused me of raping her. Yeah, she went that far. And it's like you're guilty until proven innocent in that position, right? Yep. So I had the eyes of the federal government on me for years. Completely like tore apart my career, my social life, put me down to rock bottom. I was living homeless as an active duty Marine, just in my truck, in a travel trailer, in parking lots, like filling up water from a spigot. And it got to the point where I was just so rock bottom, I was this close to ending it all. Had a little pistol, and I'm like doing my last scroll on social media, and then I stumbled across this Andrew Tate clip. There's the one of him talking about how depression is a choice. Yeah. And that just lit an epiphany through me. It's like those words resonated, and like God came down, touched my shoulder, and then instantaneously from wanting to end it all, just snapped out of it. Like I walked over to the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror, wipe away the tears, dust myself off, and I never looked back ever since.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a blessing.
Just from that little clip.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And that's before I even know who the guy was or anything. Like obviously he's all over social media now. I've seen all the
that perspective.
Big podcasts, but yeah, he was just some dude on the internet back then. Totally changed my life.
Isn't it funny that I know the clip you're talking about, where he says depression isn't real.
Yeah.
He gets so much hate for that take, but it literally saved lives.
Really, yeah, it saved mine.
Isn't that ridiculous? Oh man, that's so beautiful here.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
It's awesome, and yeah, it's only been going ever since. But
Good.
Yeah, I mean, little things like that influencers say, like, yeah, it can change lives, and you've definitely changed a lot of lives too.
I try. I do my best.
Yeah, no, I know you do, because marriage is sacred, and if things are wrong in the marriage, like you can't have fun in the bedroom, like that's crippling for a lot of men.
Or even we get guys to the point where they can have a marriage. You know, even if it's just a regular relationship, we set things up right. We get the dynamic going correctly. They're in a fantastic. They're able to get into a marriage because it's not going to be a case of like, you know, she's going to leverage sex and use it as like a weapon, like a power tool over him in the relationship, because that's not the dynamic they set the relationship up with. You know?
Yeah,
So.
I personally think that's beautiful. So I wanted to ask you so many more questions, Stirling, but I guess we do have to cut this thing a little short.
A little bit.
If there is one piece of advice you give the audience watching for men, or maybe women alike, who may be struggling with bedroom dynamics, what would you tell them?
Well, I tell for the ladies, I would say enthusiasm is the sexiest thing a woman can wear. That is hands down the best piece of sex advice a woman will ever need. It's just be enthusiastic for your man in the bedroom. And for men, the sort of converse of that, like the sexiest thing a man can do is to be dominant in the bedroom. You know, is to have some passion. Take your woman with some lust, with some passion. Throw her around a bit, manhandle her. Show her that you've got that machismo.
I like
in
it.
there. I think that going into too many specifics, I think that dynamic, that mentality is much needed in today as we're living in a time and a place where men are being, you know, treated like second-class citizens for a large part of the population. Men are being told not to be men. Men are being told to be more feminine, to get in touch, to be more emotional, which means just be easy to manipulate. So I think we need a healthy spin in the other direction.
Solid advice, Stirling.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you.
And for the audience watching, where can they find you?
StirlingCooper.com is where you can find a link to all my stuff and all my social media. All the best place to find a lot of my free resources is my YouTube channel. Just type in Stirling Cooper and I'm the first thing that comes up. We've got, at this point, 1,800 videos on my YouTube, all free, obviously, and just packed full of very practical advice.
Solid. And for you guys that know me, obviously I give some of the same advice too, but I've picked a few things out of his playbook and that shit works. So he's definitely the man to go to if you're trying to improve your sex life, get some new skills in the bedroom. So be sure to give him a follow. And I want to say thank you guys for watching today's episode. And if you are not subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment in the comment section below. YouTube, for whatever reason, the algorithm gods love comments right now, so more comments the better. And then finally hit that like button, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.